So Prince Harry went to court. His case was thrown out. He wasn't allowed to have taxpayer-funded security. He's embroiled his father, the King, wouldn't speak to him during this whole court case. Now he has written to the British Home Secretary asking for a review of his security. He won't let this go, Ingrid, will he?
Charles finds his son very stubborn and always has done.
I think I'll be happier, A, when he finally accepts it, and B, when he stops all these court cases.
So the problem for Harry is that it does feed into this idea of him being a whinger. You know, he just keeps on moaning. What did you think of their New York visit, Ingrid?
Well, I thought it was like a sort of poor version of George Clooney.
They're calling it Meghan 3, aren't they? Saying this is the third sort of relaunch.
It seems to me that everything they do is a PR blitz, so none of it, to me, seems to have a real depth of feeling.
This has been going on for years and years and years, and we're constantly in the same situation with Andrew.
He lied about when he last saw Jeffrey Epstein and had contact with him. And he lied on Newsnight. And it's the lying that is the really unpleasant part of all this. So if he lies about that, has he lied about everything?
Welcome to Royal Exclusive. Remember, you can keep up to speed on all the latest royal news by clicking subscribe to our new Royal Exclusive YouTube channel. Now, you could be forgiven for thinking it's Groundhog Day because Prince Andrew has yet again been shamed by his links to Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Harry is yet again pursuing taxpayer-funded security. So should we all listen to the Princess of Wales and restrict our screen time? I'm The Sun's royal editor, Matt Wilkinson, and joining me to discuss all this and more, I'm pleased to welcome Editor-in-Chief of Majesty magazine, Ingrid Seward, and royal journalist, Phil Dampier. Right, guys, welcome both. I want to start with Prince Harry, okay? So Prince Harry went to court. His case was thrown out. He wasn't allowed to have taxpayer-funded security. He's embroiled his father, the King, wouldn't speak to him during this whole court case. Now he has written to the British Home Secretary asking for a review of his security. He won't let this go, Ingrid, will he?
He won't let this go because he feels that he has a right to the highest security, which is, I call the Naynor, which is the blue lights. It's the motorbike riders, the outriders, and it means that you go through every bit of traffic and every red light. That's what he wants. He gets security because we don't want Harry blown to pieces by some lunatic, but he doesn't get that straight-through security, which he's wanting. But it's taxpayer funded, and it's very expensive because you've got 4 outriders and then 2 spares, and so it's not a cheap thing to get someone through the traffic. And I think that the British government feel that why there is no reason for us to do that for him.
Well, as I say, the courts have said no. His father won't intervene or can't intervene. It would be improper for him to intervene. But he's written to the Home Secretary and said, I want a review, Phil.
Yeah, I think he's trying it again because there's a new Home Secretary. Perhaps he thinks if a new Home Secretary might have a new chance, but he won't give up on it. I mean, to be fair to him, when he was over here a few weeks ago, there was a stalker, wasn't there? There was a woman who was hanging around on 2 occasions. So there are these nutters out there. He probably needs security, but I think underneath it all, basically, he wants this security and this status so that he has his security paid for in other countries as well. So if he's in America or he's in Australia or he goes somewhere else on some sort of quasi tour. Yeah, it's status, but also it gets financed by the country that he's in.
Yeah.
So if he's got that status, then they'll have to pay for it in other countries as well. So,
this is the international protected person status
that
was removed when he was in Canada just before Megxit because the foreign governments would pay for his security, and his security bill in the US will be astronomical.
Yeah, but having seen his father for the first time in 19 months for that sort of 50-minute meeting they had at Clarence House, this is the last thing that the King wanted, for him to start talking about security again, because he can't get involved in it and cause a bit of a sort of constitutional crisis if he was dragged into his own son's security. So he has to leave it to the police and the Home Secretary and the board that look at these matters. But I think he's after a review. He hasn't had one since 2019. So if he gets another one, he might possibly get it looked at again. But I don't think it's ever going to happen. I think he's just going to have to put up with the fact that when he comes back, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis,
Well, effectively,
they've been doing it. So what more does he need once he comes?
Which is actually fair enough.
Yeah, if he comes over and he needs protection. I mean, if he's going to come over here more and more often, you could argue that he should have permanent security. But I don't think it's going to happen.
But he does get security if he stays in one of the royal homes, not instead of a hotel. He gets the full security then. It's just when he's out, is what he's really going on about, isn't it?
When he's out and about on these jobs, and there might be some, some stalker or some loony
especially now,
lurking in the bushes.
Especially now. I mean, I understand it, but why should we pay for it?
It was his decision to go, wasn't it?
He's not doing anything for the country.
No.
He's doing a lot for his own charities, but he's not actually doing anything for the monarchy.
My stance on this has always been, it's kind of insulting to our police force and our security forces to think that he is just left there without any support, without any help. He's the king's son, okay? People, the police, he is effectively reviewed each time he comes into the UK. They look at his status, they look at the threats against him, and they decide what level of protection he needs. So he almost has a review each time he comes to the UK. But I feel, I speak to people in the security or the police service who think, who suggest that it's a little bit rude to them because they are professional people whose job it is, if Harry comes over and is a threat, they will keep him safe.
It'd be a lot easier for them if he stayed in a royal residence, which he's offered, isn't he? Normally the king offers him somewhere every time. But he's been staying in hotels, he's been staying with friends, so that again is his own choice.
So he's written to the new Home Secretary. I think he wrote to the previous Home Secretary who lost their job shortly before or moved on.
They don't last long, do they? I mean, he could be applying every year, couldn't he?
He could be applying every couple of months.
Yeah.
Does this cause a fresh headache for the King, though? Because I think he let it be known, or the palace let it be known, or through the courtiers, that he couldn't get involved in the court case. Once the court case was over, they wanted Harry to maybe move on. If he wants reconciliation with the King, he has to leave this issue alone. Is this going to ruin his reconciliation, the fact that he just won't give it up, Ingrid?
I think Charles finds his son very stubborn and always has done. I don't think it's going to really ruin the reputation. It just makes it far more difficult for Charles. It's just another headache for the King, who is not the greatest when it comes to confrontation. And he just wants everything to be, he always used to say, didn't he, Phil, anything for an easy life.
Yeah,
he's always said that with William and Harry right the way through their upbringing, which is perhaps why there's been so many problems with them.
I think he'll be happier, A, when he finally accepts it, and B, when he stops all these court cases suing newspapers. All the time he's in and out of courts, in and out the High Court in the Strand, it just doesn't look good at all. And I'm sure the King will be a lot happier when all of that's over, one way or the other.
And then asking us to pay for the police protection when he's in pursuing, personal court cases or coming over for charity events. Yeah. It doesn't, the judges have said no, the government have said no.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
There is an argument. I think Neil Basu, who was formerly sat on RAVOC, this is the committee that decides, is Committee of Police, Government, Home Office and Royal Household, that decides who has his protection. There is an argument that Neil Basu put forward last week that it would actually be cheaper if Harry had close protection than if he had this bespoke situation where the police would come in and carry out searches or carry out, the British Transport Police met him up in Nottingham. It would actually be cheaper that way. I'm not an expert on that, but that's the argument that they are going to start
pushing. I don't
pushing.
think the amount matters that much, really. It's more the principle, as Ingrid says, that the public, are thinking, however much it is, they're thinking, why should we pay for this? He decided to leave. He and Meghan decided to go and live on the other side of the world. And, they quit as working royals, so why should we pay for it? I don't think it really matters how much it is or whether it's slightly more for this or slightly less for that. I think it's just the sort of, the general sort of image of them sort of getting security paid for from us is something that people won't accept.
Also, Phil, when they first went to Canada, they did have 24-hour security and we paid for it.
Yeah, before they went to California.
So that was incredibly expensive because you had 2 full-time security officers and then they had to have time off, so you actually had 4.
Yeah.
And we were paying for it
This feeds into this international protected person status as well, which was removed around about the same time once he wasn't, a working royal. The problem for Harry is that it does feed into this idea of him being a whinger, who just keeps on moaning, who keeps on complaining, who hasn't moved on from Megxit. That's what worries me. I think he needs to move on. He's moved on from many different court cases. He's moved on from, complaining about his family. He hasn't complained about his family for a while. This is one of the last vestiges of his infamous whinging. That's what worries me.
The ginger whinger.
Yes.
Wouldn't
it be great if he just said, look, I don't need security. I've got a big right-hand punch. I'll deal with them. Yeah. And you'd think, good for you, Harry.
Yeah.
And then he uses Meghan and the children. And I think it was you, Phil, that said...
Was it?
that said, you don't think Meghan will ever come back here. And so far, I think you've been right.
I don't think she will come back. No, I think the only time he's going to come back here on his, will be on his own. If he comes back permanently, it will be if they get divorced, if they split up. I think she knows how unpopular she is here. If she came with the kids, of course, the security would go through that. That really would be a problem. That would obviously, open up a whole new ballgame. But all the time it's him on his own. I don't think you can justify it. If the kids came over, the King's grandchildren, you've got a different ballgame, haven't you?
Well, I imagine the police and the security services might say that was.
They would have to assess it on as it was. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the kids are going to come without her, and I don't think she's going to come.
Well, I don't think she's going to allow the kids to come over. Well, of course, Archie could absolutely willingly go with his dad. It would be really nice. But I don't think she's going to allow that.
No.
Well, he ain't going to let it go. And as you pointed out, we might have another Home Secretary in 6 months' time, so you can file up another letter to another member of the government asking for it. But they were in New York. Did you see this? They went to New York, lots of red carpets, being photographed getting in and out of taxis, going for meals with celebrities, hanging out, having a little bit of A-star celebrity life in New York. And they picked up an award, a humanitarian award, I think they picked up in New York. What did you think of their New York visit, Ingrid?
Well, I thought it was like a sort of poor version of George Clooney. Right. I mean, they picked up an award. Well, we don't really, it's a humanitarian award, and they have said some very, worthy things about humanitarian issues. But I couldn't name you one of them, and I bet most of your listeners and readers couldn't either.
Well, they cited the fact that they'd been very active about this social media. They unveiled this memorial.
But that was ages ago,
Yeah, but that's
it?
What the award was for, in the humanitarian award, for their work with social media and kids that have committed suicide as a result of online bullying and stuff like that. But they also cited in the award Spare. Now, quite why you'd get an award for a humanitarian award for slagging off your family, I'm not sure, but Spare was actually mentioned as part of the reason that they. But it does make me laugh when I see when they get these humanitarian awards. I regard a humanitarian as somebody who tries to sort of make peace with people, and they can't even make peace with their own families. Won't even see her own father, and yet they're held up as these great sort of philanthropists and humanitarians.
But I know they are, but we don't hold them up like that. I shouldn't think any man in the street here would be able to tell you what the award was for.
It was a PR blitz, wasn't it? I think they did 4 or 5 things in New York. She had lunch with Serena Williams. I think she had dinner with Ed Sheeran. They both had dinner with Ed Sheeran, didn't they?
They went to Soho House and had dinner with him.
Went to Soho House, yeah. Last time he was involved with the royals, he got stabbed in the face with a sword, didn't he, by Princess Beatrice. But anyway, so they saw him. He's obviously a mate. And then I think she went to some sort of women's empowerment group, didn't she? Where she?
Yes.
They're calling it Meghan 3, aren't they? Saying this is the third sort of relaunch. She might start to stray into the cosmetics world, start producing her own lipstick or makeup. That could be a big money spinner, a bit like Victoria Beckham's got into that field. So, I think it was a sort of PR blitz in New York and Washington.
It seems to me that everything they do is a PR blitz. So none of it, to me, seems to have a real depth of feeling like it did with Harry's late mother, for instance, and like it does with
It's all over
Kate
the place,
and
isn't it? Scattergun, isn't it?
It's scattergun, and it's what are they trying to say? What are they trying to do? What have they done? You know, Phil, but I bet most people don't know.
No. Well, not over here, certainly. I think they're probably aiming an American market, really, aren't they? But whether she'll carry on with her as ever range or whether she'll branch out into other things, time will tell. But she clearly wants to, get commercially successful and make a lot of money, which all the time she's doing that, to be honest, I'd rather she was doing that than, slagging off the royals.
Yeah.
Or attempting to come back as a royal.
Always said that. Go and start your business and run a business if it means that you're not hitting back at the royals.
Without the royal tag, if you like,
are people interested?
People are not interested. She needs Harry, and Harry obviously needs and loves her, and she needs Harry because without Harry, who is she? Just another person trying to flog their makeup or their food. She has to stand out from the crowd.
Well, yeah, she referenced, not in those terms, Ingrid, as you put in there, but she kind of referenced that issue where she was speaking about this summit, this most powerful women's summit, where she was talking about the struggle with...
That was in Washington, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Washington after the New York trip. The same kind of blitz, PR blitz that they had on the East Coast, the struggle of being scrutinised while building a business empire. I mean, that's what she was pushing on this trip. She did a lot of the red carpet stuff, which I think Meghan likes, but then she had the second half of it was talking about, her business empire, which is where she's trying to navigate herself into.
Well, she's always been a good talker, because if you remember the pre-Harry Meghan, she was out there, wasn't she, giving her opinion about all kinds of world matters. And I always remember when she went to Africa and highlighted the plight of the clean water.
Yeah.
And so she's always been on this one. It's just that I feel that people don't see her as that humanitarian. We certainly don't in this country, most of us don't.
I'm not being confrontational, but do you think that? Because when she was in the royal family, when she was speaking on Oprah, she was complaining that she wasn't able to have a voice and that she was silenced and she couldn't speak about big issues that she wanted to or was prevented. But she hasn't really veered into anything exciting or controversial. You mentioned about the social media, it's incredibly interesting, but she hasn't ventured into anything spectacularly controversial and used her voice, global platform to change the world like I seem to think that she was hinting at when she was in the royal family.
Yeah. I think in New York and Washington, doubtless she would have been sort of moving and shaking, trying to meet people, trying to meet potential new business partners, trying to meet important people, probably had a few meetings behind the scenes that we don't know about. I think that's what it's all about, really. As you say, I think it's more about making money and less about big issues. But that is one where they've, funnily enough, similar to William and Kate, going on about social media and the dangers of smartphones, etc. Something they all agree on.
I think we all agree on.
We all agree on that, but except the government, who want us to all have digital ID. But at the same time, everyone's trying to use their phones less. They want us to use them more. But anyway, that's a different issue.
We'll get on to mobile phones. We'll speak about Princess of Wales's campaign a little bit later. Can we talk about emails? Or one specific email?
Yes.
You know where I'm going with this,
yes,
guys?
Of course I do, yes.
Look, between us, I imagine back in 2019, we may have laughed at Prince Andrew when he talked about not being able to sweat and going to Pizza Express on the day that he was meant to be with Virginia Giuffre. But this email's really serious. This email, front page of the Sun on Sunday this week, where he actually wrote to Jeffrey Epstein. He was a convicted paedophile. 3 months after he last claimed that he'd never spoken to Jeffrey Epstein, or claimed that he was cutting off contact with Jeffrey Epstein, saying we're all in this together and we'll play again soon. This isn't a laughing matter anymore, is it, Ingrid?
Especially that we'll play again soon. I don't know why people think that emails can't be accessed.
No.
I mean, that's the height of stupidity to say anything like that on an email. But Andrew is not renowned for his intelligence. And I just think it's we'll play again soon has all kind of connotations. And then he lied. He lied about when he last saw Jeffrey Epstein and had contact with him. And he lied on Newsnight. And it's the lying that is the really unpleasant part of all this. So if he lies about that, has he lied about everything? Because I think there was a slight groundswell of sympathy for Andrew, wasn't there? Because we didn't know, and we still don't know for sure, if the whole Virginia Giuffre thing is accurate. But it was his pomposity, and now he's lying. So you think, well, if he lies about this, maybe he's guilty as...
We're running out of nails and we're running out of coffins for Andrew, aren't we? I mean, I think the King is now in a very, very difficult position to know what to do. As an article in Daily Mail today, I think Sarah Vine saying that Andrew ought to fall on his sword and leave Royal Lodge and voluntarily, sort of do some things and go into some sort of exile. I'm not exactly sure what that entails. This is the problem for the King. If he puts him in complete exile and makes him
dangerous.
Move abroad, he could become a loose cannon. Fergie might say to him, you know Duchess better than I do, but would they write a book themselves, their own version of events? Would they do a Netflix series? Would they move to Bahrain or somewhere? I mean, it's very, very difficult for him to know what to do, isn't it?
In a way, he's safer where he is under the auspices of the royal family and under the auspices of his older brother.
Well, then you've got the claim that possibly the King is, he gets in trouble because he's protecting him if he doesn't punish him. But they tried so much.
They can't throw him out.
They can't throw him. He's got a cast iron leash. They can't throw him out. They've taken away his use of titles, taken away his, his royal roles. He can't be a working royal. They've taken away his funding. They've taken away his security. There's not much else the King can do. They're now relying on Andrew's own judgment and sense of honour to do the right thing. But we know from the past that is not something that we can rely on.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, he's still a member of their family. I've never quite seen the point of banning him from Christmas or banning him from funerals. I mean, he might do himself a favour to keep a slightly lower profile and perhaps not be photographed going to church for a couple of years at Sandringham or whatever. He probably won't go for this Christmas, but I don't see you could. He didn't go last Christmas in the end, but I don't think you can ban him completely from family events. And you know, there's not much point to it. But it's very difficult to know, as you say, how to punish him further, isn't it?
Why can't you do that, Phil? Sorry, well, this is a disgrace. Honestly, there's been so many stories. Where's our red line? You know, what's the final straw with Andrew? He's been caught lying, and he's been emailing this convicted paedophile.
Yeah, but then what would he do then for the rest of his life? He's only in his early mid-60s, isn't he? What's he actually supposed to do for the next 20 years?
Well, that's not my problem.
That's not your problem. It's his problem. Yeah. But it's the King's problem.
Do you remember, Phil, at the very beginning, when this Epstein thing first started, Fergie and he did make a bit of an effort. Do you remember there was he went on television and he was packing up little parcels for people?
Very well, probably, during COVID.
Yes, during COVID. And I thought, that is the route he will take. But has he done that? Absolutely not. No. All he's done is played golf, watched television, and go riding around the Windsor estate.
He said, didn't he, in the Emily Maitlis interview, that he was going to sort of try and make amends by getting involved in anti-slavery charity, which I think Beatrice or Eugenia are involved in, aren't they? Yeah. But we haven't seen any of that.
No, we haven't seen anything.
So we haven't seen any kind of, Profumo-esque attempt.
That's what I thought he might do. But Profumo got out of it. Well, you're too young to remember that.
But he was younger, and he had, several decades to do it. Andrew hasn't got the time or the intelligence or the ability to do it. I don't think.
I think he's got the inclination.
Or the inclination.
I think he's. I think it's just the epitome. It kind of winds me up, this story. It really does, because he's been caught red-handed, and then the news will just disappear, and then there'll be another one in the 6 months' time. We're having the same conversation, the same. What are the repercussions?
Because we've got Virginia Giuffre's book coming out, her posthumous book. But that's obviously going to.
Phil, apparently, all the staff at Royal Lodge are really worried because they don't know exactly where their next paycheck is going to come from, and Fergie and Andrew, and I include Fergie in this, but they both think it will all go away. But they cannot think that anymore because these emails are going to keep coming out. But they are just sitting tight, imagining this horrible scandal will just go away, like scandals have a habit of doing. But I'm with you, Matt, on this. I don't think this is going to go away at all.
No. Epstein was convicted in 2008, maybe 2007, or one of the two. He met Andrew in 2010. The picture in the email came out in 2011. He died in 2019. This has been going on for years and years and years, and we're constantly in the same situation with Andrew. It's too much.
Yep, so at risk of repeating myself, I don't quite know what the King's going to do. I think it's very, very difficult.
I'm sure he doesn't either.
No, I'm sure. I think he's probably.
Well, answers on a postcard to Buckingham Palace. Yeah. If any of our viewers have any ideas.
Your viewers will tell you. I'm sure there'll be a wide. He'll claim that at the end of the day, he's never been convicted of anything.
Which is true.
Yes. He has already paid a heavy price. But as you say, I don't think that's enough anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. But what will happen? We're in the dark, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are in the dark, and as I say, Groundhog Day, we'll be talking about this until something is done with Andrew. But, yeah. We talk about Prince William.
The trouble is, we talk about stripping Harry and Meghan of their titles, and then next in line you've got Andrew, haven't you? So, we're going to have to chop away at taking people out the line of succession. We're going to be, chopping away half of the line of succession. The way
stripping a title is not that easy.
No, it's not. It's not easy. It's not easy at all.
And I don't really see. I mean, I know the people, the mayor or the people of York would want. They would be delighted if his title was stripped. But it's not that easy. Also, it was a gift from his mother, the Queen, on his wedding day. Yeah. And what right would Charles have to go against his mother's wishes? There's all that mother thing involved as well. So it's the easiest thing to do is rather hope it'll go away, which of course we know it won't.
No. Well, things like getting rid of the title, Order of the Garter, etc. These are just almost just like symbolic changes, aren't they? These are just symbolic punishments rather than him actually facing up to what he's done about lying.
It'll just make him more and more unfriendly, if you see what I mean.
But my idea is he's probably got loads of friends in the Middle East or the Far East. He could go and have a lovely life playing golf in the sunshine.
Like Juan Carlos went.
If I was him, I'd go and live somewhere else. I'd say, well, I'm not wanted anymore. It's fairly obvious I've got no future here. Start a new life while you can.
While you can, exactly.
Edward VIII and Wallace Simpson spent their days over in France.
Whether the estranged wife would go with him or not, I don't. You know much better than I do.
I think she might have to. I think out of loyalty, I think she might have to.
Yeah. Just going to run and run and run.
They're tied together, aren't they?
Let's talk about Prince William. We were showing this video in advance under embargo, and we weren't really warned This is the video that, sorry, it's a video that William did on World Mental Health Day. He was speaking to a very impressive woman, Rhian Mannings, whose son died and then her husband took her life. And I wasn't prepared for actually seeing how emotional it was, with Prince William welling up in tears. What was your thoughts when you saw that of this video of William?
I think it struck a chord, and you know, he would not want to be seen crying, and it really struck a chord, and the unhappiness and the tragedy of what happened to this woman's husband when she still had. I mean, when the baby died and the husband then committed suicide. I thought that was it. I didn't realise she still had a family, and that was so tragic. And I think it just struck a chord with William.
Well, I think anyone would be moved by it, but she herself, the woman, said to him, "You've suffered loss yourself, didn't she?" And he didn't sort of, you know, he sort of acknowledged that, you know. And
she was very motherly and really in charge. I thought she was absolutely brilliant, and sort of almost mothered William in that moment.
I mean, we see his caring side all the time, don't we? I mean, he's a great hugger. He hugs people. He's not afraid to hug complete strangers, and you know, he's talked about his mother in the past, and you know, I'm sure both he and Catherine were very upset when that poor girl, the receptionist, killed herself after that hoax business. Terrible, you know, I think that was very upsetting for them. So, you know, it's not the first time we've seen his caring side. Some people say he's, you know, letting it hang out a bit too much for a future king, but we're in a different world now, aren't we? We're not in the same world as the Queen and Prince Philip. You know, in the sort of era they were brought up in, it's a different, it's always been different since Diana, and I think he's in tune with the.
And he's judged it really well. I think William has judged it, and you don't feel as though he's putting it on like you feel that.
No, you feel it's genuine, don't you?
You feel it's totally genuine.
That was a completely natural moment.
Yes.
Wasn't expecting it. But they could have left that on the cutting floor. They didn't. If William didn't want us to see him welling up like that, it wasn't live. They could have said, "Oh, we'll cut that little bit out and just carry on with the conversation."
I think he's sending out a message that this is how it's going to be when he's king, isn't he? That he's going to be more touchy-feely, you know, rightly or wrongly. People have their opinions, you know, and we hope he doesn't overdo it. But I think at the moment he's pretty much in keeping with the sort of modern sort of, you know, modern way of these things.
Well, he's got to. I mean, the monarchy has to evolve and it has to change.
Yeah.
And basically, it hasn't really changed under Charles. Why would it? Although he's far more touchy-feely than his mother.
We don't want him weeping and wailing every 5 minutes. No. He's got to have a stiff upper lips up for some occasions.
Yeah,
he will have to go to some very important things when he already does. You know. Some very formal occasions, you know, commemorations and memorials and things where he is going to have to be sort of in control of his emotions, you know, at the cenotaph, for example, you know, that sort of thing. We can't have him sort of getting too upset. But
Phil, we haven't seen this before, though, have we? Haven't seen William welling up before.
Sure we have, but I can't remember when it was.
Or other royals, other older royals back in previous decades. I know King Charles referenced that he was in tears when he was showing some of the get well cards recently when he had cancer, but yeah, I think it's quite rare and maybe welcome, but not, as you say, Phil, not all the time.
We saw the Queen well up when Britannia was being decommissioned.
And then she said, "Oh no, it was the wind."
It was the wind. Yeah.
Now, talking of modern royals, mobile phones are a modern issue for every parent. Now, Phil, you know, we're talking about mobile phones.
Yes.
You don't have the most modern phone in the world.
No.
But myself and Ingrid, we have modern phones.
There's my phone. I don't have a smartphone. You see, I'm a technophobe.
But we have modern phones. Do you have a problem with screen time? The Princess of Wales has written, which is a wonderful essay. Again, when that dropped and I read it, I was very, very surprised. It's very well written, bringing up some incredible, important points about isolation and an epidemic of disconnection and loneliness.
I think she's absolutely right, Matt. I mean, I've got grandchildren and I see it with my grandson. I do. But the trouble is, in this modern world, everything moves very fast and people don't have what we had, or certainly I had in the past, which was nannies and people to help you. If you're on your own with 2 or 3 children, the screen time is a bit of a blessing. If you want to keep them quiet when they're in hospital, or you do need it. And in fact, my daughter said, well, I think Kate's absolutely right. But what's the alternative if you're on your own, which most women are nowadays? You know, they don't have the panoply of staff that people did in the past.
But she made a very good point, though. I mean, this is when it really annoys me, when you go out for a meal and you see an entire family sitting there, all on their phones. You think, what's the point in going out for a meal? What's the point in having a nice dinner if you're not talking to each other? And she said they always have dinner every night together, don't they? That I don't know what age they'll give them phones. I mean, they haven't got them.
I was really surprised when she said, I think it was William that said that his children did not have mobile phones.
No. Well, they practice what they preach, by the sounds of it, as parents.
Yeah, but they have got backup, and they're obviously quite strict. And the future of the monarchy is really in her children's hands, isn't it? So they need to be strict and try and bring their children up in a way that they are engaging with them all. I mean, Kate is absolutely right, and I think every mother will agree with her. But how to put it into action is the trouble.
I mean, this is something that they actually agree on, isn't it? Harry and Meghan and William and Kate are all singing from the same song sheet on this, very much doing the same work, saying that... talking about the evils of social media and online bullying, etc. But it's something they actually both saying. But of course, they all use social media themselves, don't they?
Yeah.
So it's just a question of balance, how much you do it, isn't it, really, and how much you use it.
And it is very addictive. It's very addictive for us. So for a child, suddenly you're looking at this screen and there's the whole world in these brilliant colours. Of course it's addictive. And if you talk to a child when they're watching television or something on the screen, they don't hear you.
The Princess as well, she's been speaking about this early years, I think the campaign. I'm trying to remember when I was there when she launched it, but it's been about 4 or 5 years now.
She's brilliant.
This is her biggest, I think, her biggest intervention, the one that's got the most coverage, the one that has really struck a chord with people since she's been raising awareness about the first 5 years of your life.
She's obviously been delving into her Sigmund Freud, hasn't she? Because that was one of his big themes, the first 5 years, and picked up on it. And I totally agree. I can understand why they carrying on this theme that William wants to, and both of them want to give them a normal childhood.
But in fact, they're not giving them a normal childhood; they're giving them an extra special childhood. Because when you see, obviously highly paid nannies wheeling kids down the street, most of them are on their phone too, and that's another thing that Kate pointed out. You need to be, when you're with your children, you need to be engaged with them, not engaged with your phone.
Yeah. It's a strong message, and she's the right person, I think, maybe to get it across.
She is,
Right, guys, just got time for our quickfire questions. Okay, that was in Northern Ireland this week, actually. Brilliant with William and Catherine, 3 really busy days. They look back to their best, by the way. But off the back of the Prince and Princess of Wales's visit to a firefighting college in Northern Ireland. I'm sure you've seen the pictures. Which royal would you want to have on speed dial in an emergency?
The Princess Royal.
I was going to say the same thing.
Well, we could share her, Phil.
I was going to say that she would be reliable. She's a very good driver. Used to get done for speeding quite a lot, didn't she? In her scimitar, or whatever it was, in the old days. She was always getting done for speeding, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She would be the best, definitely.
She would be practical because she'd say, stay there, I'm going to deal with this.
Yeah.
Okay, you can have Princess Anne. I'll have Zara and Mike.
Yes.
That fair?
Chip off the old block. Yeah.
Sticking with phones, the Princess of Wales wants less screen time, as we were just discussing, for her children. But which royal do you think needs less screen time?
Well, I've got so. If I had £1 for every person who said to me, do you know what? I wish I didn't have to hear anything more about Harry and Meghan at all. I don't want to hear anything about them whatsoever. I'm not interested in them. I would be a multi-millionaire. And I think there's a lot of people over here now who really don't actually want to hear anything about them. I think the press think they do want to hear about them, and they're the kind of, sometimes they're the sort of pantomime villains. But there's a lot of people who actually don't want to hear anything more about them. They're really fed up with them.
But there is a thing in the British psyche that
love to hate.
Yes, and apparently, and Matt would know this obviously much better than us, and maybe you would have done in the old days, they do sell newspapers. Yeah. People want to read about them.
Do they?
Well, apparently they do, I think.
Get the clicks on them?
Well, what they do is they generate a lot of news, they generate a lot of talking points, and generate a lot of stories. If they were silent themselves, I've said this before, like Harry, for 2 years, Harry and Meghan were the biggest source of stories that I've had on the Royal Beat. If they were silent, then it'd be a lot better, and they wouldn't be in the newspapers. You wouldn't write about them. They produce it all.
I don't think it's going to happen, but all I'm saying is a lot of people say that to me.
Yes, I agree.
And finally, guys, we saw Harry and Meghan go for dinner with Ed Sheeran in New York earlier this week. What celebrity would you like to see the Windsors invite over for dinner?
Well, it has gone wrong in the past, hasn't it, getting involved with celebrities? I'm thinking Jimmy Savile. I'm thinking Rolf Harris painting the Queen. I mean, so it can go wrong. But at the state dinner with Macron, we had Elton John and Mick Jagger, didn't we? So they were obviously. We didn't get quite so many for Trump. That people probably
They were like
we had Nick Faldo, didn't we, and a couple of others.
Businessmen and stuff mainly.
So
they
yeah,
were the money men, the world's richest money men, but of course we didn't recognise them.
No, we didn't. But celebrity-wise, I think Elton John playing on the old Joanna in the corner and Mick Jagger on the microphone, been marvellous. Should have got them to perform at the dinner.
Yeah.
I would like to see them. I'd like to see them with the Clooneys.
Oh.
I know the Clooneys went to the wedding, and the Clooneys had never met them. They went to Harry and Meghan's wedding, and they had never met them. But I think I'd like to see them get hugger-mugger with the Clooneys.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Been through a lot. There's a lot of fun. Thank you for coming. Right, that's all we have time for on this week's Royal Exclusive. Thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments as usual, and remember to subscribe to us here on the brand new Royal Exclusive YouTube channel for the latest royal news. We'll see you next week.